Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news. And we have a head-to-head between the two transfer experts that you're going to decide here, because we've got more big updates from David Ornstein. We've got more big updates from Fabrizio Romano, and you need to decide, because one of the key points here is that last night David Ornstein said Manchester United are not looking at Victor Osimen. And then last night, Fabrizio Romano said Manchester United are interested in Osimhen, and it does depend on whether Man United increase their budgets for the Champions League, because Osimhen wants his full wages. So you got David Ornstein last night saying Man United are not interested and they're not going to change their targets based on whether they're in the Champions League. The latest on those two as well. Also want to delve into a few other comments that have come out, specifically around, I think David Ornstein's been misquoted. A few people have taken a quote from David Ornstein where he said if they didn't get Delap, they'd look at other positions and make do with Rasmus. He never said that. He never said that. So we need to get some clarity on that. Also, a very interesting quote from Sir Jim Radcliffe that I've seen floating around this morning I think it's really important too. And also, my tweet last night did really, really well. I was just messing around, not looking for porn. No, it was 9 o'clock. I was just messing around on the internet and I came across, that sounds wrong. I found this message from a Sporting fan back in November listing off what to expect with Amorim. It's all happened. It's all happening. It's all happened. And that's very interesting. Some people have say it's cutting out a little bit here. Let me just check. I have got 0 drop frames. I've got nothing dropping in here at all, and my stream health is excellent on YouTube. So it's the mic apparently. Oh, fix your mic. I don't know that there's anything I can really do with the mic once I'm live. It's its own thing really. Let me have a quick look. Bit of a pain, but let me have a look. I know it did it before, and I can't remember what we did to fix it. So I think I just turned it on and off. We'll try that. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much. Apologies if there is a problem with it. Not a lot you can do when you're live. I should have ran some checks. Thank you very much to Greg, our producer, as well. Okay, I want to get into what we're here to talk about anyway. Let's start off with Cunha's story. Is it Cunha or is it Cunha? I need to know that, because if he's signing for Man United, I don't want to get his name wrong. Is it Cunha or Cunha? Let me know about that. But look, this is what's coming out this morning about him. Lots and lots and lots and lots to talk about. But basically, last night, a social media account called Reza Simplicio at Simpresa is a reporter for Goldbridge. Has 500,000 subscribers and basically said Cunha will join United in the next transfer window. United have an agreement and want a deal wrapped up at the end of the European season. United will pay the release clause, which is around £62.5 million. This was followed up by Fabrizio Romano in the early hours of this morning, past midnight, saying Man United maintain optimism for Cunha deal as the club feels he really wants the move. Champions League football not expected to be a factor as the player is keen on the move. Man United would be willing to pay the clause and Wolves would be open to instalments. Talks continue. So I think amongst all the madness at the moment, it's really important just to get a little bit of clarity this Thursday morning that when it comes to Cunha, he is, and I'm going to go with Cunha from now on, it's looking very good. And I'm going to leave it there and move on to something a little bit more juicy. But on Cunha, it looks like the race is won. It's looking very good. I know I'm like you. This is my priority signing. And I want to see the shirt held up. And I want to see the pictures in the Man United top. I completely agree. And it is only April the 24th. And things can go wrong. But it is looking very, very good around Cunha at the moment. And those are two significant updates, one from a very good source in Brazil and one from Fabrizio Romano in the early hours of the morning. So I think with Cunha, we can just park it and go, we're expecting this deal to happen without any more twists and turns. Because if we didn't get it, it would be like Elise all over again. And what's going on if that happens? So I think with that, very, very interesting. Now, let's go to this. This is the big one this morning. You've had a couple of minutes to have a think about it. So, Fabrizio Romano, asked about Victor Osimen last night, said, Manchester United are definitely interested, as are Juventus, as is the Saudi option. But for Manchester United, much depends on whether they're in the Champions League next year and the budgets they can allocate to certain players. You've then got David Ornstein saying last night, Osimhen's not on the list for Manchester United, and Manchester United are not likely to change their targets based on Champions League football. They know what they want, and they're going for it. Completely different. And you know what, I get quite excited about this, because we ain't dealing with sources that we don't necessarily believe are true. You know, it's not the Manchester Evening News against TalkSport. We are dealing here with the GOATs of the game. And you very rarely get two differing opinions. And they are so different. So basically, in the red corner, no, can't do red, can we? Because, well, we can. Red corner, you've got Fabrizio Romano saying, Man United are in for Osimhen. They're interested in Osimhen, sorry. And it depends on whether they're in the Champions League and the budgets they've got. David Ornstein, they're not in for Osimhen, and they're not changing their opinions based on whether they qualify for the Champions League. So what do you believe? What do you believe on that? Because I don't remember the last time we had this, and I respect them both. I think they're both fantastic. I would not mention them as much as we do. They are the two best. They got briefed by the club last year. The only two that did, they are the best. They are the best. And yet, there are completely differing opinions here. Do you think United are still in for Osimhen, which is effectively, if you vote yes, Romano, no, Ornstein? Well, more of you are sliding towards Ornstein. 57% say no, we're not. 43% say yes, we are. I'm not going to sit on the fence here. Why would I? I never have. You know, this is the genius about having amazing communities like ours, because we've got this contrasting story here. And it's not really about Osimhen. It's about, if we're in the Champions League, are we going to go for better targets? That's what I'm really thinking about. It's not really about Osimhen. So David Ornstein saying, no, if Man United get in the Champions League, it's not going to change or alter the targets they're going for, and they're not in for Osimhen. Romano is saying, yes, if they're in the Champions League, it's going to change the players they're going for, and they are interested in Osimhen. Two opposing opinions. I'll tell you what I think. I don't think we're in for Osimhen, but I do think we change our targets if we're in the Champions League. That's not sitting on the fence. That's not me trying to please David and Fabrizio. I don't think we're in for Osimhen, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I do think we'll change our opinions based on Champions League football. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I don't for 1 minute think we've got a list of players that we want, and if we get in the Champions League, we're going to go, we're happy with what we got. Because it's a bit like saying, what do you want for Christmas, kids? We're quite poor. And the kids are responsible and say, you know what, I'll just have, the Monopoly game, I'll have that. But you really wanted a PS5. I know, but you can't afford it, so I'm going to go for the Monopoly game, fine. I've won the lottery, I'll have the PS5. And that's why I think it would be illogical for United to be sat there going, we know what we want, and it's not dependent on the Champions League, because if we're not in the Champions League, we're still going to go for these players. Like, you're literally telling me that you are not going to go for different players when you've got another £100 million budget. So I agree that I disagree with David Ornstein. I do not think that United are sat there with a list that they're going to rigidly stick to. I think it will change if we get Champions League football. I really do. And I also think what's really important as well is, and probably I should have said this at the start, I also think the players that will come to this club are different if we've got the Champions League. So if we're not changing the list, there will be players that won't come to this club if we're not in the Champions League. So they're not on the list. So, that to me is a big thing as well. Where I agree with David Ornstein, though, is I don't think we're in for Osimhen. I don't. I think that I think listening to Fabrizio's update, you've got the devil is in the detail, and he basically said Manchester United are waiting on Champions League qualification to see about what they're going to do in the transfer market. They're definitely interested in Osimhen, as are Juventus, but the key thing with Osimhen is full salary and project. We'll talk about Delap in a minute, Dunny, and that to me, I analyse interviews. I used to do it for a living, and people can say 100 words and 4 of them can be the most important. And I just think when Fabrizio said Osimhen wants full salary, that to me is what this is all about. This is not about anything else. He wants his full salary. It's his last big contract. He was going to go to Saudi last year. He didn't go to Saudi because it fell through between the Saudi club and Napoli, not from him. So he is willing to go to Saudi. He's not one of those players. I mean, apparently Cunha has been approached by Saudi and doesn't want to go there at the moment. Osimhen's a player that wants to go there. So I think that with regards to Manchester United and Osimhen, the guy is clearly motivated by getting the most money, I think. And that's why we're being utilised. And I just don't think we can get into those games anymore. I don't think we can compete with those sort of games anymore. So I don't think we're in for Osimhen. But I do think our targets will change based on being in the Champions League if we make it. Luke Davison says, let's all calm down. We don't even know where we stand until we get knocked out or win. Exactly. Hope you and the family are well. Thank you, Luke. And thank you very much for your super chat this morning. I think Man United are doing mind games, says Daniel. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya, says Anzumo, the Kenyan. Thank you very much, mate. Delap is a horrible player. What is the club doing, says Dunny. We're about to talk to you about Delap. One is the club mouthpiece, other is inside scoop, says Keel. Which one? They both get stuff from the club, by the way, Keel. I don't think you can say that, you know, whatever you're saying, they both get stuff from the club. And I know a couple of journalists who don't like how Osimhen and Ornstein and Romano get preferential treatment, but they do. Hi Mark, do you think Mateta is still an option? Says Maliki, and cost cutting is a consistent aspect of Ineos ownership, says Patrick. Good morning. Hope you had a good birthday. This extends the wage bill at United. Lots of big earners are on the way out. Osimhen wanting full wages could be a major stumbling block, says Patrick. Yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about Delap because, as I said last night, if you didn't watch the show last night, we spoke about a lot of things. It was a really good show. Go and check it out. But one thing I can take from that and insert into the morning show, because it's very quickly, is that when you hear that Liam Delap is Man United's top priority, you have to do that with an asterisk. Because the asterisk is, this is not Amorim and Wilcox and everybody sat down there and going, Liam Delap's the best striker we can get in the world. This is Amorim and Wilcox and everybody sitting down and going, this is the best striker we can afford. There's a very big difference to that. You know, if you walk into McDonald's and you buy a cheeseburger and that's your top priority, that might be because you've only got a couple of quid. You can't afford a McChicken sandwich or a Big Mac or a vegetable, whatever it is, you know. So that cheeseburger to you, you're going to buy that cheeseburger and go, this is what I wanted. You know, this is my priority. It's lovely. And a cheeseburger is very nice, but it's not a Big Mac. It's not even a McChicken sandwich. So I think that it's very important because some people don't understand this. When United are spouting out that Liam Delap's their top priority, yeah, within the parameters that they've set. And who sets those parameters? Sir Jim Radcliffe. So, yeah, he is a good player, but let's not pretend we're going for him over Gyökeres or Osimhen for any other reason than finance. 14 goals and assists for Delap in his first season. 14 goals and assists for Rasmus in his first season, says Trey. You can't compare. You can't compare, mate. And I think it's... I wouldn't be interested in that conversation. If I was down the pub and someone slapped a free pint in front of me and gave me them stats and says, let's debate it, I'd say, I'll take your pint. Thank you very much. If you want a picture, that's great. But please leave me alone. I don't want to have that conversation. And that's polite. That's polite. I don't want to have that conversation because my instant answer would be neither are Osimhen, neither are Gyökeres. I want an experienced striker. You know, I'm not arguing with you in the sewers. I want better. No matter the result of Europe, if we're not in the top 6 next season, then Wilcox has to go. I'd rather go for Chris Wood than Delap, says John. Do you think if we get Delap, we can also get Jonathan David, says Sammy? I've heard nothing about Jonathan David. I tweeted it yesterday. I've heard nothing about Jonathan David because I do that's football as well for any club, let alone Man United. Bit off topic. What do you think of the Leeds striker? He's 25 and not Premier. Yeah, well, I think we end with the Leeds thing, Dan. We have bought players in for the Leeds, but I don't think that's going to happen. I wish the club was as efficient in signings as they are on spin, says Enzomo. And SNS says channel with 90k subs posted plan to raise fund for summer by selling 6 to 7 players. I said we don't need to pay 90 mil amortization and Casemiro won't probably leave. He said I'm making stuff up and blocked me. The great thing about the modern world is anybody can post anything and build a community, but it takes a lot of things to build what we've built, and I can't bullshit you because there's people like Patrick Lynch, Double D, regular Robert McCormack, and they represent hundreds and hundreds of you as well. There's people out there who get given a platform and just spew rubbish without actually investigating it. And people can say, well, you do that, Mark, you do that, Mark. Of course I do. But there's a lot of work that goes into what we do. Amortization, previous quotes. Oh, Sir Jim Radcliffe said this 18 months ago. This player said this 12 months ago. We very rarely miss on, fact and detail. But on transfers, I'd be very disappointed if we've got people in our fan base still adding up people like Casemiro, Anthony, Rasmus, and raising 60 million. Like, the modern football fan shouldn't even be talking about budgets. I saw somebody the other day saying we can raise, 200 million. What are you talking about? We owe 90 million in previous transfers, and even the Cunha deal, we're not going to pay 60 million because we haven't got it. We're going to pay about 12. We're going to pay about 12 to 15 million pounds for Cunha, and then 12 to 15 million pounds next year and the year after that, because that's modern football now. We used to do videos on this channel 5 years ago talking about how big our budget will be. And you'd get Mark Ogden in the SBN saying Man United have only got 80 million pounds to spend, and we'd go, oh, he's talking out his arse. He actually wasn't. We probably bought 250 million pounds worth of players, but I bet we didn't spend 80 because we probably did it in installments, and we've become more aware of that now, I think. Let's talk about Liam Delap, though, because there are a couple of significant updates on Liam Delap. First of all, Fabrizio, again, is saying that Manchester United and Chelsea are both trying to get hold of Liam Delap. Now, apparently, he's turned his phone off. He's on a golfing holiday in Swindon, and he doesn't want to be disturbed. That's a lie. No, they're both trying in relation to signing Liam Delap. Now, David Ornstein said, we'll come back to what David Ornstein, they're both going up against each other. They're more in tune on this one. But this is what Fabrizio Romano had to say about Liam Delap. So Manchester United are both Chelsea and Manchester United see Liam Delap as a big opportunity. They've already made contact with his agent to be informed on his relegation clause of £30 million. And both are trying to get him as it's a big opportunity. Now, I think what I would take here as a positive is that, and I'm boring myself going back to this because obviously we did factually as a community have the scoop on Delap being our priority weeks ago. But as part of that scoop, I can't break it up. You can't go, we were first on Delap being Man United's priority, and then ignore the fact that part of that scoop was that we've beaten Chelsea, or we feel we've beaten Chelsea, or we're confident that we've beaten Chelsea. But I would take it as we've beaten Chelsea, because that was what the story was. Liam Delap is Man United's priority, and they're confident that they've beaten Chelsea, and there's this obsession with Chelsea at Man United. That was the story 2.5 weeks ago. So every time I see a story about Man United and Chelsea for Delap, I just go back to that and go, well, that story was nailed on that Liam Delap was our priority before anybody knew. So I'm presuming it's nailed on that we're confident that we've beaten Chelsea. So great. Chelsea are in for him, but I presume we've won this race. Is this not what Jason Wilcox is here for? And I'll take you back to this as well. I think just before what David Ornstein said, I'll shout out Amorim era here for this, because this quote is apparently from March. Sir Jim Radcliffe: "We still do not have data analysis at United. All we've got is Jason's eyes." Wilcox. Man City thought Jason had the best eyes at Manchester City. He knows what's working, what's not working in Amorim's system, which players we're going to buy. So I think, look, that quote, do what you like with that quote. Why haven't we got data analysis after 12 months? Why have we not got data analysis anyway? Why are we focusing on one person's eyes? Did Man City exclusively use Jason Wilcox? I very much doubt it. But anyway, Sir Jim Radcliffe, I don't think he knows a lot about football. But what I do take from that is, not to be negative about Sir Jim Radcliffe, is that they clearly have a massive trust in Jason Wilcox. And Jason Wilcox has a relationship with Liam Delap from Manchester City. So I think everything is just sort of moving towards that when it comes to Liam Delap and what we're hearing now from Fabrizio and David Ornstein, and what we were talking about a few weeks ago about beating Chelsea and him being the priority, and what Sir Jim Radcliffe was talking about last month about Jason Wilcox's eyes and everything like that, they are clearly all in on what Wilcox says. And I just think that, although, again, and I don't know how many of you are excited about Liam Delap holding a Man United shirt up, and we have got to wait for that, I think more and more this is looking like, very much like Cunha, isn't it? Cunha, in the sense that this is looking like a deal that's going to happen. Now, this is what David Ornstein had to say. Liam Delap is Manchester United's #1 striker target, which we know. United will have other options they might turn to, not Osimhen, or stick to internal solutions such as Rasmus and then focus on other positions. Now, people started losing their shit about this, because that is just the written word. That reads like, if United don't get Delap, they'll look at other targets that aren't Osimhen or Gyökeres, or they might stick with what they've got and focus on other positions. And people are absolutely losing their shit, going, well, we can't just stick with Rasmus. We can't stick with Rasmus. We've got to get a striker in. But when you listen to what David Ornstein said, what he's actually saying is that if they don't get Delap, there are other options out there. And there are options within the club, and they've got to look at other positions as well. I absolutely do not think for 1 minute that David Ornstein was saying Man United are not going to sign a striker and they're going to stick with what they've got, because we can't stick with what we've got. And I also think if we bring Liam Delap in, we need to be keeping Rasmus, because we can't just have one striker again. As I said, some people think we can sell Casemiro and make a profit. Some people think we're working off a budget of 250 million. Some people think that we're going to pay the full 62 million for Cunha. I've got to get used to him. And some people think that we're going to sell Rasmus and bring Liam Delap in and be okay. Like, one of the big problems we've got over the last 2 years at Man United is, regardless of what you think about Rasmus, we need 2 strikers. The game has never been so intense. You need to sub your striker at 70 minutes in most games. You need to rest your striker midweek when you're playing in the Carabao Cup. We haven't done that for 2 years. We haven't had a striker that can come on after 70 minutes or rotate for 2 years. So if we sell Rasmus and we bring Liam Delap in, I'm going to lose my shit. Not because we're selling Rasmus, but because we're literally just putting ourselves into the same situation with a striker that might be better, might be worse, but is still going to have the same issue in the 80th minute of every game when he's not being subbed off because he's knackered and he's got to play every single game. We need 2 strikers. Xerxes is not a striker. That is not a solution for me. Xerxes is a very talented player, but it's like putting Marcus Rashford up front. Yeah, he can do it, but Rashford's not a striker. Xerxes is not a striker. They can do it, but is that what we want at United? A 22-year-old and we can do it? No. We need 2 strikers. So whatever happens this summer, we need to either keep Rasmus and bring a striker in, or we need to sell Rasmus and bring 2 in. And that to me is a non-negotiable. So whoever the profile of the strikers are we're looking at, I think it's ridiculous that some people are getting their knickers in a twist that we might not buy Delap, not buy a striker and keep Rasmus, when actually, even if we do buy Delap or a striker, we need to keep Rasmus because we need two. We need two strikers. I can't believe people don't think we need two strikers. We need two. It's absolutely essential, especially in the system we play, where the striker has to get through a massive amount of work. They've got to be the focal point of the team. They've got to lead the press. It's a very, very intense role. And if you've ever seen Sporting, you'll see what it is for Gyökeres as well. We need two strikers. So I don't think people who were getting a bit stressed about what David Ornstein was saying is that if they don't get Delap, they might look at internal options such as Rasmus. I don't think that's what he was saying, and I don't think that that can be an option. Where I do agree with him is that, what about focusing on other positions? Well, I just think what he means there is that there is a limited budget. And I think we need to be realistic about that. There is a limited budget for Manchester United. So if you spend less on one position, it might allow you to do something in another position. Because I think we've got to be very, very clear here. Every summer transfer window we've done on the United Stand as a community, and you might have been here a long time, you might have been here a short time. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, get involved. But every single summer transfer window, we've gone into it with optimism. And, you know, stereotypically, I would say this is the normal routine from now, going into a summer transfer window in the United community and in this community. We need to sign this, 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 and this. And we've got to sell this, 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 this. On average, we need to buy 5 players and sell 7. And we never do it. Never do it. We might buy 5 players, but they won't be the 5 we want. And we will never get rid of the 7 players that we need to get rid of. So we've never done it in a decade, even though every year for a decade we've needed to buy 5 specific roles and get rid of 7 specific players, and we've never done it. And every year we convince ourselves it's going to happen, and it's never happened. Even last summer, we didn't necessarily get the 5 players we should have got, but I was happy. But we didn't get rid of the 7 players we needed to get rid of. No way. So just remember that going into this window, if you're optimistic about who's going and who's coming in, there's a 100% chance it won't happen because it's never happened in 10 years. So I look at it and I go, incomings, striker, number 10, pivot midfielder, holding midfielder, left-footed centre-back, goalkeeper, right wing-back, whatever you want to call it. 6. I get the feeling we'll do well to get 4. And out of those 4, 2 of them might be kids who aren't even ready. So from 6 priority positions, I'll get 4 of them, 2 of which aren't ready. I can see Delap, Cunha, 2 kids, that's it. So basically, out of 6 priority positions, we get 2.5. 2 proper ones, 2 kids, and then we leave 2 done. On the outgoings, you tell me. Is Casemiro going? I don't think so. Is Onana going? I don't think so. Rashford's going to be very interesting. Sancho's going to be very interesting and take time that we don't have, wasting on players that, Anthony. So look, Orca says it's all speculation. Mate, this is not Sky Sports News. It's not The Athletic. It's the United Stand. It is what it is. It does exactly what it said on the tin. I had this chat yesterday. You're wasting everybody's time. It's the United Stand. It's a fan community. It's the biggest one in the world. We talk. We debate. That's our job. That's what we do. Sometimes we get really good info, but it's not what we live and die on. We're here to talk and communicate. And of course, it's bloody speculation. It's pub talk. It's conversation. But I'll tell you what's not speculation, mate. Last 10 years, we've never delivered a summer transfer window that we all want. So I don't think it's speculation. I think it's a calculated fact that we will not get all the positions we want. So when David Ornstein is saying, if Man United don't get a certain role, they might prioritise other roles, what he's basically saying is, United aren't getting everything anyway. So if they don't get a certain player in a certain role, they might pivot to another priority position. For example, in plain English, if we don't get a top striker, we might pivot and buy a goalkeeper instead because we haven't got the money to do both. I think that's what Ornstein was saying, and I think a lot of people realise that, but some people start getting the knickers in a twist going, oh, we're not going to get a striker, we're going to get a goalkeeper instead. Well, maybe that will happen. It'd be a bloody nightmare, but, I don't think we're getting a goalkeeper. I think we're going to spend on what we think is a priority, and we're not going to spend on all priority because we haven't got the money. Even if we get in the Champions League, I just don't think we've got the money to do everything this summer. When big contracts end, how does that impact the window, says Keel Robinson? I need more clarity. Can you say, Ellen, cheer up, please, says Tech for Dummies. Cheer up, Ellen. It's a lovely day, I think. I think Obi will come through soon, Mark, says Rob, always United. I hope so. I think it's a bit unfair to put big I mean, look, I saw somebody saying the other day that Amas is the real deal, and I thought, here we go again. 18-year-old is now Luke Shaw. He's had a couple of good appearances, and now at 18, he's the new Luke Shaw. I actually saw somebody do a social media post saying why Amas is the real deal, and I thought, these idiots are the people that caused the problem, because I think he does look like he could be the next Luke Shaw. But Luke Shaw at 18 wasn't Luke Shaw. Like, you've got to give an 18-year-old, on average, 3 or 4 years to become the next Luke Shaw, not at 18. But then people watch or read that and go, oh, he's had a crap game there. He's not what I thought he was. That's the damage that morons do to our young players, because they see them like Mainu and they go, oh, he's the next Pogba. He's the next Pogba. And then 6 months later, because he's 18, he has a bit of a dip. I knew it. He's not the next Pogba. He's a load of shit. But he might be the next Pogba, but when he's 22, not when he's 19. And it's the same with Amas. He might be the next Luke Shaw, but not when he's 18. Dorgu might be the next Patrice Evra. He might be the next Ashley Cole. He might be the next bloody Roberto Carlos. But not at 20. And this is what we do all the time. We cook our kids in relation to that, like the youth. We over egg the pudding to try and be a little bit niche. I see more and more people now, like Twitter accounts that are, are totally focused on the youth. And that's good in a way, but they also are fanning the flames of toxicity, and they don't even realise it because they're overdoing what youth players are. Maybe it's an age thing, but I know with the likes of Ryan Giggs, Wayne Rooney, they were exceptional. They were exceptions to the rule. But Paul Scholes, David Beckham, players like that who became world class weren't world class at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It took time. And I don't know why we got onto that topic. But yeah, anyway. If Liam snubs us and we haven't got a plan B, then we're in big trouble, says Daz. We should have bought Garassi, says Harvey. Look. I'm here apologising on that one. I have said it a couple of times, probably in less viewed shows in the international break right at the end, but probably never said it in front of 11,500 on a morning show. But yeah, I got it wrong. I got it wrong on Garassi. I put my hand up. But that's why we love this. That's why we love football, because Rio Ferdinand can be stood out at a bloody train station on his phone going, I'm hearing in the next 24 hours Qatar. Never happens, and he's still allowed to talk about football, because you can make an absolute prat of yourself and recover, because football is all about opinion. But Garassi, I disrespected it. I was like, nah, we don't want him. We don't want him. And to be fair, we could have done with him. I mean, even if he'd flopped, it'd still be better than what we've got. To have Garassi and Rasmus is better than just having Rasmus. Yeah, I think Garassi was a bit of a missed opportunity, really. I sort of stand by why I didn't want him, because I felt we needed something better, but we never got anything better, so we'd have been better off going for that. No matter the result of Europe, if we're in... okay, we've done that from John as well. Is Cunha classed as experienced? Yes, I would say he is. When big contracts... sorry, done that one. Sorry, let me just give a shout out to, I can't remember who that was. Sean says, you're right on the kids. My brother told me we may trade Anthony for a kid from Betis as loads of clubs are in for him. Some kid named Jesus Rodriguez, says Sean. I'm hearing Ornstein say we have the finances in place to sign both Delap and Cunha without having to sell anyone is encouraging. Then we focus on others, says Tom. I don't know how we have those finances in place, mate. I just clarify that very, very, very quickly. We haven't got the finances in place to buy Delap and Cunha. Absolutely no way. Every bit of financial information out there, we haven't got that money. On July the 1st, we might have the money because it's a new financial year. But right here, right now, we haven't got it. I would suspect we're either waiting for July the 1st when it's a new financial year, or we're doing it on the anticipation that money's coming in from other transfers. But we won't physically have that money at the moment. We don't have that money. So we'll either be doing it based on new financial year on July the 1st or anticipated sales. Can we finish in the top 7 if we sign Cunha, Delap, Edison and keep Onana as goalkeepers as Turp? It'll be tough. It'll be tough. It's a tough ask to get in the top 7 with just those 3. We've got to respect where we are. Patrick Lynch says, people forget Luke Shaw was one of the most expensive teenagers ever bought by United when we got him. Hard to put the same expectations on Amas. It is hard, but for some people, they find it very easy. Top 5 humans of all time. Love the content, Mark, says Luke. I don't know who the top 5 humans of all time are, Luke. Never meet your heroes. In 2 years, most of our big contracts end. Will this allow us to go for better players, or are those funds tied up? Well, you're wrong, Keel. In 2 years, I need to give you an injury update here. In 2 years' time, our contracts are not up. Marcus Rashford's runs till 2028. Bruno Fernandes runs beyond that. Mason Mount runs beyond that. So our 5 biggest earners at United are Casemiro, Sancho, Rashford, Bruno, Mount. Bruno and Mount are not up in the next 2 years. Rashford's is 2028. We think he's going, but we don't know. Casemiro might do another year. And who was the other one? Sancho will probably get rid of this summer. So we're not getting rid of all our big contracts. There's still going to be some big earners at the club. Eze instead of Cunha, says Ben. No. Not for me. Let me run that as a poll. It's a democracy. But no. I like Eze, but that's not even because we're linked to Cunha. I've said I prefer Cunha for a long time. Zipsy says, what's going with Ahmad? I'm about to tell you now. We may sign Cunha, Delap, Gomes, Calvert-Lewin and a young right wing-back. Media and some fans will go, Amorim got 6 players and we should get top 4, no quality. If we buy Calvert-Lewin, I'm going to physically cry on the stream and say, what's happened to my football club? We actually are Everton. Like, we cannot buy Calvert-Lewin. Like, that to me would be, I don't even know what you are at that point. That's the sort, I mean, if I was Leeds, I wouldn't get Calvert-Lewin in the hope he can score goals and keep you up. Like, I wouldn't buy Calvert-Lewin if I was a bloody Championship. If I was Birmingham City and Calvert-Lewin says, I'd love to get you promoted, I'd say, leave us alone. We're a serious football club. So, Aki mentions Calvert-Lewin. We have been linked to Calvert-Lewin, so it's not completely stupid, but please, no. Let's talk about Ahmad and let's talk about Delap. Tony says, top 5 humans, Harry Maguire, Pope Francis, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. Okay, it's a football channel, remember. So, where are we with Delap and with Ahmad? On last night's show, we told you that the Bilbao top scorer, was it Sensei or Sensat, went off injured after 18 minutes with a suspected hamstring injury. Will he be back for the games against United? Well, we're a week out. A week today, we're back where we were a week. I mean, God, I can't believe it's only a week since last week. Bloody hell, what a game. What a game. I need to get some red wine in. Anyway, in a week's time, it's leg 1 in Spain. And they may be missing their top scorer. And obviously, Nico Williams is struggling with a bit of an issue. He's expected to play. But where am Man United with our injuries? Well, Xerxes out for the season. Ahmad is... I have to be very careful about this because I know it. Ahmad is back in the sense that it's just about how hard they push him now. Like, he's been on grass training for a considerable period of time for a footballer now. Like, last week he was on the grass. And what I mean by that, he's on the training ground, you know, running around with a ball. With regards to Ahmad, it's just about how hard you push it now. God, I'm choking. Eman, you can go in a timeout, mate, for that. I don't need that sort of language in the chat, and we don't need your big, massive. Look, basically, Eman saying Ahmad's not back. Mark's talking shit, mate. I don't need to talk shit. I've been doing it for 10 years. I don't need to talk shit. The numbers speak for itself. The information we get speaks for itself. Like, we get good information from the club on injuries and stuff like that. So we're literally in press conferences and stuff like that. I don't need to make stuff up. There's plenty of outlets that do that. I don't need to make it up. You saying Ahmad's not back, I can show you pictures of him training. He is back. So you're getting angry about something. I don't know. Go out and touch some grass yourself. You're getting angry with your capital letters about something that's going to expose you to be an idiot. He literally is back. We've seen him posting pictures himself. He's back in training. What I'm saying is, he's not back training physically, you know, going toe-to-toe with Harry Maguire in a training session, unless he's done it this morning. So what we're saying about Ahmad is, he's back in the sense that, you know, the ankle is fine. He's running around on grass. He's doing ball work. But it's about... Because when he does start doing a training session with Harry Maguire and Casemiro and Bruno, it's then about, well, when's he going to get some minutes? So I feel with Ahmad, United will try and keep this really, really close to their chest. We might see pictures of him training with the first team today, because they were back yesterday after a couple of days break. Monday, Tuesday, players were given time off. And, you know, I think some of them went out the country for a day or two. They were back in training yesterday. I understand that from Amorim. I think it's a good idea. Give them a couple of days off. It's been very intense, and it's going to be a very intense end to the season. But I don't know whether we'll put pictures out of Ahmad training with the first team or whether we'll keep it quiet. Because what I was told is that with Ahmad, it really is now about when you push it or don't. Now, we've seen that with the fitness team, we've been quite... My only concern with Ahmad is we need him, but our fitness department has been ridiculously strict because they know they're shit with Amorim's advice. Like, Mount never starts games. People come back and they don't start games. They're kept on the bench for long. They play only 60 minutes exactly. Our fitness department is terrified of their reputation. And they basically say to Amorim, he can only play 60 minutes. He can only play 30 minutes. It's become so rigid. And you can see that across the season. We see substitutions on 60 minutes because that's what Amorim has been told. He doesn't want to do it, but he can't really go against the advice because if they get injured, they'll go, Sir Jim, we said don't do that. So this is the interesting thing now. It's about how collectively the club push this, because Ahmad could be on the bench in Spain. He could be back for that game on the bench. I don't think he'll be involved against Bournemouth, but he could be on the bench for Bilbao. I think they'll leave him for the second leg. I think they'll go, do we need him in Bilbao when we're going to be playing quite tight, trying to keep it down? Maybe we keep him back for that. And I think that's what they might do. But with Ahmad, it's just about how much they push it. With response to Delap, little bit more uncertainty about Delap. Like, the injury's never been revealed again. Like, they've never really said anything about it. The last update on Delap was 2 weeks ago from Amorim saying we need to run more tests. They've just... Collier's back in training. Hebbin's back in training. But with Delap, they've been ridiculously secretive. And I don't know why we do this. We're not a political party. We're a football club. And I don't think Athletic Bilbao are going to be, desperately trying to uncover what's happening with Delap. So I don't know what's happening with Delap is the honest answer. I'm hoping we're just going to see him in training and he's back. Because we're a better team with him in it. And I think Maguire and Yoro and Mazraoui have done well. But as we saw at half-time against Lyon, when Mazraoui had to come off, it fell apart. So we need Delap back. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that works. Rob Royston, you just got yourself blocked, mate. Don't care. Bye. Legend to the United community. Did you go to see the Minecraft movie, says Zero. I haven't, but Seb's seen it. Would you take Richarlison as the experienced one? Oh, my God, second day in a row. You're making my eyes throw up, Ali. Absolutely not. No. Aren't we buying wing-backs? Cash in on Delap, says Aki. No. You're wild with your Calvert-Lewin, and now you're talking about selling Delap. We're never going to sell Delap. That's just never gonna happen. Like, whether people want it to happen or not, I think he's done well in recent weeks after a bad season. But we're not selling Delap because Delap is one of Amorim's favourites. Interestingly, I've just seen that Ahmad has posted on on Snapchat a picture of him in training. So there we go. Are we going to push it high or are we going to push it low? I just want to talk to you about this actually. Let's not forget the reaction to the game on Sunday when we lost to Wolves and the amount of people that were still talking about, Amorim out and all that. I found this, I'm just going to scoot through it, but I found this fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So this was posted by a Sporting fan in November about Ruben Amorim when he was coming to Manchester United. Now, I'm not going to read all of it. It's on my Twitter, at Mark Goldbridge anyway, from last night. But this was posted in November, so it's not like hindsight or anything like that. He basically said this: as a Sporting fan who's watched them for years, don't expect a miracle. This is absolutely the most important point of all. When Amorim took charge of Sporting, he also started midway through the season, and at the end of that season, Sporting finished below than where they would have expected. He needs months to implement his style of play, and just like Sporting at the time, Man United's team is not very compatible with it. Expect big players to leave. Amorim will most likely sell players that might have been huge assets to the team previously, but don't match his style and may even distract from it. If you look at the team Amorim inherited when he took charge of Sporting and the team which he started the next season with, you'll see what I mean. Locker room management, Amorim always made it a stipulation that the players he manages are positive influences on the locker room dynamics, getting rid of players that might be huge assets but otherwise damage the team in some way, shape or another. He did it at Sporting. He got rid of popular players. He got rid of players that had been brought in for good money, and he pushed them to the sidelines and forced them out of the club. Tactics, expect 3-4-3 every time, all the time. Amorim barely deviates from his formation, instead changing the players in the starting 11 depending on the characteristics he wants the team to display. Transfer policy, Amorim most likely won't even consider someone who could destabilise the team's backroom dynamics, and that means a lot of big established players are unlikely to join as tensions could arise from that. Expect Man United to sign more young and lesser known players, also likely for cheaper, that have large amounts of potential. This was exactly the model that brought in Gyökeres to Sporting. Youth, if Amorim can get players from the youth, he definitely will. Amorim is one of the few well-known Portuguese managers that has this sort of youth academy policy, which is funny because almost every Portuguese manager follows it. They're just not well known. And he will need more than 11 players. If Amorim is given enough time at Man United, expect him to assemble a team where the players sitting on the bench are just as good as the ones on the pitch. Wow. Wow. It's almost like the blueprint that everybody needs to read today, isn't it? You know, because we are literally suffering and it was predicted. And we're getting rid of big profile players. because they don't fit the system or they might be a negative impact in the dressing room. He needs time for the system. He needs players for the system. And guess what? He doesn't change the system either. It's crazy, isn't it? Some people just lose sight of the fact that we were told what was going to happen and they don't want to listen to it. And that's ex-players, journalists, and some of our fans. We were literally told this in November and people have chosen to forget it. Some of us haven't, but some of us have. United keeping us all awake. Cheers, Mark, says Ryan. Selling McTominay was a mistake, says Shane. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. McTominay was sold by Ineos under Ten Hag. We're now under a different manager. I don't think we can look back at sales from a different era. I think we just got to focus. It's like saying, it's like keep going on about saying signing Onana was a mistake. Well, yeah, but it was Ten Hag who did it, not Amorim. And we've got to look forward, I suppose. There was some. I got in trouble actually. There was a couple of quotes. I spoke about quotes from Mason Mount last night, and somebody messaged me and said, you didn't even do the best two. And I said, okay, I'll do them in the morning, Dad. And here they are for you. So there was another couple of quotes from Mason Mount. Last night, I basically mentioned a couple where he said, Amorim backing him's great, and, he's just focused on getting back and it might take time, etc. A couple of other quotes. He says, everything else is slowly building up, but we just need to finish off that final pass, that final finish. It's definitely positive for me being back now to the end of the season. That's all I'd wished for. Funnily enough, I think he's one of the guys that's missed in the last couple of games 2 of the biggest chances, hasn't he? He also said, I'm the first to say I need regular game time. Between now and the end of the season, I want to be available for every game, and hopefully that means we play in the final. As a group, that's our goal. We know we have to play in the Europa League final and do our best in the Premier League to try be as high as possible, win games and keep improving. It's interesting that his goal is to be available for every game, and hopefully that means playing in the final. I wonder if he knows something or it's just a turn of phrase. Like when he says available for every game, I'd rather he said my goal is to start every game. But I wonder if he can't say that because he knows he can't. I was talking about this last night. Are we in a position with Mason Mount now where we're managing minutes, where we know he can't play 90 minutes? So we basically just have him as a bit of a cameo player. I'm going to be very intrigued on 2 things with Mason Mount. One, if he can stay fit till the end of the season, that would be the longest period of fitness in his time at United in 2 years, which is amazing considering it would be 3 months. 2, can he actually start games, or are we actually just managing minutes? Scott Treacher says, meant no room for Bruno with 3 or 4 new forwards. Well, we're not buying 3 or 4 new forwards, are we, Scott? I'm not aware of us doing that. Keel says that's actually very reassuring. I found it very reassuring, yeah, that stuff about Amorim. Scott says Bruno won't play with Cunha, Osimhen, Ahmad or Delap. Well, he will, because we will only get one of Osimhen or Delap, and it looks like it's Delap. So Delap will play up front. Bruno doesn't play up front. Cunha and Ahmad, you could play as the 10s, but Ahmad's missed half the season for the last 2 years, and you've also got rotation, and he might put one of them on the bench and play Bruno in that position, or he might play Bruno deeper. What I think you can take to the bank, Scott, is Bruno will start above anybody else in that team. Bruno will be the first name on the team sheet. Bruno's not losing his place. We're not selling Delo, and Bruno will always start because they are 2 of Amorim's favourite players. They are completely going to be in there all the time. Fantastic show this morning. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe as usual. We're back at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock as usual. It's a Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, getting back towards... Oh, I tell you what. It's been a good week on transfer news. I'm not going to deny it. It's been very interesting. So make sure you subscribe and get involved. But I tell you what, sort of looking forward to getting the football back. Because, the transfer chat's great. But winning the Europa League, I absolutely am convinced dictates what we do in that transfer window. And, I sort of find myself thinking, we're doing this, we're doing that. And then I go, yeah, we've still got to win the Europa League. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you on in a bit. I love the channel mark, says ASMR. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks for getting involved. 86% of you would go for Cunha and 14% of you would go with Eze. That's a landslide. Speak to you in a bit. Take care. I'm not doing the Malasia song. See you later.